Estate Hustlers podcast. We're going to be talking with Jesse Stump, founder of Cville Properties. Jesse began his real estate investing journey in 2013 when him and his wife purchased a duplex on the other side of town and held it into their previous primary residence as a rental. Over the next decade, Jesse began developing a diverse portfolio of residential and commercial and multifamily properties. Jesse's achieved financial freedom just before his 40th birthday and is now excited about what his life can look like as he begins to scale back on his 9-to-5 job. Jesse, we appreciate you coming on talking with us. If you could, please tell listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm excited about it. Yeah, so we started out, like you said in our bio, in 2013. We had just had our son. We were looking for a bigger house in a better school district, like most people. And as we were beginning our search, we had just kept seeing this really quirky house on the other side of town. If you can envision it, it literally looked like someone plopped a 2006 apartment on top of like a 1950s single family home. And, it'd been on the market about a year and we just couldn't get our minds around it. And I just thought more and more about it and the gears started to turn. I thought if we could rent this nice apartment out and move into this lower level, renovate it, make it our own, this could be a really awesome thing for us. It kind of precipitated the thought of then, well, we could hold on to our single family home as a rental that we're moving out of, and could be a really great way to upgrade our living situation and really drastically reduce our living expenses. So it was a higher price point than we were looking, but it became feasible because of that rental income. Yeah, and so that was really the beginning for us. That was the light bulb, just the power of real estate and how you can leverage it, the rental income benefits that really got us started.
And you can use the other tenant's income with your income and really qualify for a bigger starter house or duplex or quad, which is just another huge way of getting in and creating passive income and a free place to stay. House hacking.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, we did that. And, I've since become a big fan of Bigger Pockets podcast, listen to it. They use that term a lot, but we had done it and it made sense before I had really even knew what the word was. But yeah, house hacking essentially is what we did.
Absolutely. And it's smart. It's getting started and kind of see how things can quantify. So you answered my first question, how do you get started investing in real estate? Second is, how did you make the initial leap from residential to commercial real estate?
Yeah. So after we had this first foray, saw the power of the investment income, and then it started to develop just a comfort level with our single family home that we had been renting. We started to look for some opportunities to buy a true investment property. Did the, save 25% thing over the next, few years. In 2016, we bought our first single family home that we planned to renovate and make a true rental. So we did that. Things went pretty well, but afterwards, it was a couple $100 a month in additional cash flow. We had sunk this 25% down that we had spent, a couple years saving, and we saw the benefits, but it just didn't feel scalable. Yeah. And so kept trying to think of different ways that we could open the horizons, I guess, as far as types of properties that potentially cash flow more. And we did end up going in. We were a second offer on another single family home that made a lot of sense for us as a rental. It was right up the street from that first home that we had. We were in there as a backup offer, and this property popped up. It just was kind of randomly reaching out to some property owners and property management companies that were listing some properties for rent. And there was it's half of a duplex. It was a commercial cleaning company as a tenant on the first floor with a residential apartment on the second floor. And so we had, at this point, no experience in commercial properties, but I felt pretty good about the location and the residential apartment up above. I said, if we can keep that apartment rented, that's the break even for this property. And this commercial cleaning company, they're local fixture in our area. They're stable. I felt good about them as a tenant. I said, trust that we can handle the residential piece, and we'll figure out the commercial tenant piece if this tenant ever leaves. Anyway, we've owned that property for a number of years now. It's just been great for us, and it was really the first time that it opened my eyes to the power of multi-unit, right, as far as scaling cash flow, and then it really just was our first step into dealing with commercial tenants and understanding what they want and are looking for. Motivation's very different from a residential tenant.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting that experience, and then also, commercial lending versus residential, very different, right? So it was really getting to go through that for the first time on a property that it felt comfortable enough because of the residential piece that we felt it wasn't a major leap for us. That really opened the doors to having us look at all kinds of different deals moving forward.
Yeah, and commercial tenants are totally different than residential, like you just said, for the better and for the worse, either or. But it is their livelihood, it's their business, it's how they make money, support their family. So usually the rent's on time and it's there. But at the same aspect, if it's a negative revenue business for them, then it can go opposite direction. But as long as, like you had said, the break-even point. So that's to me that one of the most important parts of investing in real estate is the underwriting, knowing what your break-even point is. How did you? What connected the dots of you being able to underwrite a property to know if it's a good investment or a bad investment? How did you get that knowledge?
Just started, like I think a lot of people start creating your own kind of spreadsheets, right? Running numbers on mortgages and starting to get a feel for what rent, is going for in the area, both on the residential side. And then with this specific property, she had a long-term lease in place. So that made it kind of easy. But yeah, just starting to develop a comfort level with the rents in your area, understanding the market as far as the way that a commercial lender structures their mortgages, very different from residential. And yeah, I've gotten to a point over time where I can analyze a property, 20 minutes, I can determine whether or not, got some simple rules of thumb that say, hey, this is worth looking at further. And then in 20 minutes, I can plug in some numbers and determine if it's even viable to move forward as far as potentially approaching the owner or putting an offer or whatever.
Yeah, back of the napkin analysis. And
yep.
Yeah, and that's the biggest. I think one of the biggest points is knowing a good deal from a bad deal, because LoopNet is full of traps, and all these properties look good, but if the numbers can't support the purchase price, then you can truly get into a bad deal. And on the other side, I don't think a lender is going to let that happen. They'll just require more money at closing, and then you're even deeper into it. Have you done the BRRR method, to where you're buying a property and with an exit strategy to refinance or sell to get your equity back?
We've done some properties that we actually did a great deal. It was after this commercial one that we just talked about. It was a duplex that popped up. It was at a really great price point. Even though were interested in the commercial thing, this was just a deal that popped up that we had to jump on. Yeah, we were able to purchase the property at a pretty low down payment. It was at a lower price point, but in a great area, needed a lot of work. We probably put $25,000 into the renovation, got the thing set up as a rental property, and then did a cash out refi for basically all the money we put in as a down payment, plus all of the money we had put in as, basically to renovate it, and pulled that out, was able to buy another property with that and have a cash flowing rental property. So yeah, we have done that. Not one that we've lived in per se. I know a lot of people do that, but we did do that in that instance where it was something that could have been flipped, but made sense to hold on to as a rental. And it was a good cash flowing property for us for a number of years. And essentially your return on investment's infinity, right? If you've pulled out all of this money that you've put into it, we're able to then buy another property with that money and have this cash flowing asset that you essentially own free and clear. Was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that's where things can get really fun with real estate, is once you start seeing the return, you can get all your money back and then redeploy that into other assets, and the process keeps moving forward.
Absolutely.
Very good. Can you tell us about some of the more unique properties that you own and manage?
Yeah. So that first commercial residential property, like I said, it opened our eyes to just looking for value in places that most people don't see. A lot of competition on a 3-2 single family home. You're dealing with first time home buyers and other investors. But when you can start to find niches and value in properties that other people aren't looking at, you have way less competition. It really opens the door to acquiring and doing some cool value add to properties that we're big into our community. So some of the things that we do are very community focused, creating places that people want to come and spend time with their families and helping support local businesses. So probably a property that I think, kind of encapsulates the type of portfolio we have. We found this property during COVID that it was already had a diverse tenant pool. It had a bit of vacancy, but there was this bedrock tenant, this 30-year ice cream shop that had been there, very prominent fixture in the community, and it gets tons of traffic during the summer. There was a yoga studio, but then it had all these kind of bizarre attributes. It had a handful of shipping containers, 5 40-foot long shipping containers at the end of it. It was a half-acre property in this pretty dense urban environment, which was a big lot that just underutilized. And so during COVID, we knew that outdoor dining options for people to be outside. The ice cream piece already was getting tons of traffic because people felt comfortable doing the walk-up window thing. Yeah. And so through partnering with a local food truck, someone who's another pretty prominent business in the area, we created a commercial kitchen that would support his business there, but then also be a shared commercial kitchen that other food trucks could use.
It's a ghost kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we created this really nice outdoor seating area with some kind of pavilions and a fire pit. And so it was great for his business because now he's got a nice area with some outdoor seating. The shared kitchen, which was needed for him to be able to operate, also provided this really interesting revenue stream where other food trucks need a licensed kitchen to be able to operate. We started having a revolving list of food trucks that wanted to come and serve at the property. Some very, famous food trucks in the Baltimore area were coming weekly, monthly. We were putting on events. The shipping containers turned out to be somehow our first foray into like the self-storage avenue.
Nice.
So it just this property, it opened our eyes to all different types of ways that you can leverage real estate, right? And it's been a ton of fun. It's been a great thing for the community. It's done great for us from a cash flow standpoint, and so it's been a win-win-win. And that's what we try to look for when we're looking at deals, not something that's just going to make money or, it's something that's going to be a benefit to the community and serve us well, serve other local businesses well who need a great place to operate. And that for us is when you're hitting the home run.
Yeah. And that's the creative piece of real estate, being able to visualize something that's not there and then saying, what is the highest and best use of this building or this piece of land? And, what's going to, like you said, serving the community, serving the others, adding a map dot on there for people to come and visit. It's huge. It sounds like a great piece of property. Plus it gets you into self-storage and a whole nother asset class.
Yeah.
That's cool. How do you decide to leverage your experience to a property management company?
So as we started developing a portfolio, bringing on more and more units, in the beginning, running around like crazy, doing the things that a lot of people do when they start out, picking up paper checks and fielding every call yourself. And there got to a point where our portfolio had started to scale that we really wanted to just systemize, make this more of a legitimate business, air gap ourselves a bit from the day-to-day operations and leverage technology, right? Electronic leasing, electronic payments, maintenance requests. So there was a point a number of years ago that we just decided, okay, as we continue to scale our portfolio, we want to do so in a professional way. We want to build these systems and processes that aren't so reliant on our bandwidth. And as we did that and saw the fruit of it, how much better it served our tenants, how much better it was for, I mean, you name it, the financial reporting, just the electronic rent payments, how much, when you make it easier, you make that barrier lower, people pay rent quicker.
Yeah.
All of those things worked so well for us that it started to make sense for us to offer that to third parties. There's a lot of people who bootstrap it and do the, self-managed route, which we did starting out. But if you give them a good option and make it be able to provide that same level of service, there are a lot of people that own properties either that they inherited or they've owned for 30 years that's a service that they're looking for. So we started to offer that, and it's just been a really great additional way to engage in the community, serve these properties that the owners are just at a point where they don't want to manage anymore, and maybe they've been managing more passively, and so being more actively involved in helping them get good tenants into their properties, making these properties, we get involved in helping kind of from a consulting standpoint, making recommendations as to how to best improve the properties. We even getting involved with helping renovate, getting things freshened up to attract and land new tenants. So yeah, it made a lot of sense for us to leverage the things that we had learned in these systems that we had developed to really leverage that into a service that we could provide other people.
Yeah, and you're right. It's the tenants, they appreciate it. They have a place where they can do maintenance requests, and you develop a CRM to where you can track your payments and know who's on time, who's not. You can offer other methods of payments, such as credit cards, ACH, other things that might not have been there before. Property management, though, that is the key element to being successful in this business, whether you're doing it on your own or hiring somebody. If you're hiring somebody, then you become an asset manager, making sure that your expenses are being managed and maintained appropriately. If you've got someone else in control of the funds, cash in, cash out, and that property manager is in charge of those funds, and they're doing a maintenance request, and they're paying the bills. We've seen bills come in that weren't necessarily justified. Might have been at the time, but what if we done something different? Maybe. But it's you gotta weigh it out. It's gotta be a balance, because at the same time you're trusting your property manager to make those calls for you. And you guys are in charge of the net operating income, which is the value of the property. So if you're skilled like you are, you understand that, and you could raise the value of the property substantially, versus the owner not knowing how to do that. They just want the property to be there. So property management, it's extremely important, and you've got a huge role.
Yeah, and I think you really nailed it there. And for folks who maybe just starting out, the power of commercial real estate over your standard residential, right? A residential property is worth the couple of houses down the street that have sold in the past 6 months that are comparables. That's the value of your property, right? But you nailed it with commercial property, the ability to improve that net operating income on that property. You can do immediate value add and increase the value of that property just by having it operate better. Yeah. And it's worth its net operating income, right? A multiple of its net operating income. And that to me is just another one of the many benefits of going the commercial route, is if you take pride in what you do and you want to see this thing be successful, every time you can increase that rent roll and decrease your expenses, you're literally increasing the value of the property as well as your monthly cash flow. And that's kind of just a double whammy, I guess, as far as the value.
Yeah, in commercial, we don't care about the declining value of houses. Our valuation comes from income. It's a business. And that's how other commercial lenders, they'll pull comps on other commercial assets and see what they're going for, what they sold for. But it all comes down to how the company is performing as a business. So you get another bonus there for being in real estate. All right, bonus question. How would you recommend someone just starting out to get started investing in real estate?
I mean, we touched on it earlier. If you're in the very beginning, I think the house hacking, it makes a ton of sense. If you've got a desire to do interior renovation type work, that you could buy a property that's potentially undervalued. You can get in there, do some work to it. You can, if it's got potential rental income like the one that we purchased, that's, a great benefit. Or, even doing what we talked about, the burr, get in there, you could buy it, renovate it, either, refinance it, you could sell it and get into something a little bit bigger. But, there are a lot of benefits to the residential financing route for a beginner. And so trying to just view real estate in general versus like, this is my dream home. This is, maybe stepping back from the emotional side of things and saying, how can I leverage this asset, right? If I've got this residential single family home, how can I best leverage this for my financial future? And trying to view it from that paradigm, I think, and looking for opportunities in the properties that you're looking at versus how big of a house can I afford with this, with my monthly income. That to me is the first step for someone who's interested.
Yeah, you're 100%. If I could do it all over again,
Yeah.
my family would be moving into a fourplex, and
No
that
doubt.
would get me primed to pump to get it started. And you can afford more if you're doing that route. You can afford to pay market rate versus an investor who doesn't want to pay market rate because the property, they're just buying the cash flow, and it would be a negative cash flow if they bought it. But no, you hit it on point. Jesse, we truly appreciate you coming on. If a listener wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach out?
Yes, if you're interested in just discussing real estate, interested in property management and some of the things that we do, you can find us at cvilleprops.com or find us on Facebook at Cville Properties LLC. Happy to talk, answer any questions, or to help you out from a property management standpoint if you need it.
Awesome. Jesse, you're an inspiration. We appreciate you coming on, and I'm sure we will talk soon.
Thanks. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Taylor's podcast, we're going to be talking with Jesse Stump, founder of Cville Properties. Jesse began his real estate investing journey in 2013 when him and his wife purchased a duplex on the other side of town and held it into their previous primary residence as a rental. Over the next decade, Jesse began developing a diverse portfolio of residential and commercial and multifamily properties. Jesse's achieved financial freedom just before his 40th birthday and is now excited about what his life can look like as he begins to scale back on his 9-to-5 job. Jesse, we appreciate you coming on and talking with us. If you could, please tell listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm excited about it. Yeah, so we started out, like you said, in our bio, and it's 2013. We had just had our son. We were looking for a bigger house in a better school district, like most people. And as we were beginning our search, we had just kept seeing this really quirky house on the other side of town. If you can envision it, it literally looked like someone plopped a 2006 apartment on top of like a 1950s single family home. And, it'd been on the market about a year, and we just couldn't get our minds around it. And I just thought more and more about it, and the gears started to turn. I thought, if we could rent this nice apartment out and move into this lower level, renovate it, make it our own, this could be a really awesome thing for us. It kind of precipitated the thought of then, well, we could hold on to our single family home as a rental that we're moving out of, and could be a really great way to upgrade our living situation and really drastically reduce our living expenses. So it was a higher price point than we were looking, but it became feasible because of that rental income. Yeah, and so that was really the beginning for us. That was the light bulb, just the power of real estate and how you can leverage it, the rental income benefits that really got us started.
And you can use the other tenant's income with your income and really qualify for a bigger starter house or duplex or quad, which is just another huge way of getting in and creating passive income and a free place to stay. House hacking.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, we did that. And, I've since become a big fan of Bigger Pockets podcast, listen to it. They use that term a lot, but we had done it, and it made sense before I had really even knew what the word was.